Over in the pages of recent Marvel Comics, readers have gotten the opportunity to see Kamala Khan join the ranks of the X-Men. And watching Kamala Khan take the fight directly over to the anti-mutant group known as Orchis has been absolutely thrilling. Kamala has been tasked with going undercover at Empire State University to try and infiltrate the Orchis-funded tech program. My name is Araco Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and explore the pages of Miss Marvel issue 3 to see if Kamala can avoid the suspicion of Dr. Gaiha and Omega Sentinel. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on our video. The evolution of Miss Marvel continues. The world may have turned their back against mutant kind, but now they've got Miss Marvel to stand up for them. As her enemies begin closing in, Kamala is haunted by bad dreams. But they can't be related to her mission, can they? All this plus, who is Dr. Surfer? Miss Marvel, The New Mutant issue 3 is written by Iman Vellani and Saber Perzada, featuring art from Carlos Gomez and Adam Gorham. We have colors from Eric Arcienega, letters from VC's Joe Caramagna, and design from Tom Muller and Jay Bowen. In addition, here's the cover coming in directly over from Sarah Pichelli and Matthew Wilson. Really appreciate all the characterization that Pichelli is able to lend over to her figures on the page here. I also love her nimble use of line as well. And I want to extend a big thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste for posting this preview so fast here and dive into the excellent artistic work from both Adam Gorham and Carlos Gomez here. Over in the dream sequences, I think Miss Marvel, The New Mutant issue 3 marked a huge improvement here, as instead of the irreverent dream sequences focusing on all the different aspects of Miss Marvel's continuity, this dream sequence is really embedded within the narrative and features Orchis really trying to work their way into Miss Marvel through the use of some of her dreams. Really found the page layout over on this image that we have up on the screen to be incredibly endearing. I think the relationship between the fan fiction character of Dr. Surfer and Miss Marvel leads to so many interesting story scenarios. Plus, the idea of Miss Marvel being manipulated by Orchis featured in the background of this panel gives so much excellent tension to the page and for this Miss Marvel The New Mutant issue. I also love this next sequence as we get to see more of the interactions over between Dr. Surfer and Kamala. The self-serious and important way that Dr. Surfer carries himself with really brings out a lot of the elements of humor over in this Miss Marvel title, and there's this sense of tension between Miss Marvel's dreams and the waking world because of how Bruno is looking after her, and the stakes just seem so high in some of these moments here too. Over on some of these next pages, we get references to the X-Men and Krakoa, with Miss Marvel somehow being able to write the Krakoan language over in her dreams. And I really appreciated this page over in the modern day here, as we got to see this really gorgeous panel bleed introducing Dr. Gaiha and some of the role of Orchis over in the comic book. Also learning about some of what Dr. Gaiha's intentions are over with these dream sequences and Miss Marvel is really chilling. I also appreciated how this sequence gave us the chance to check in on some of the internal politics over with Orchis. It seems like there's a little bit more tension between the relationship with Dr. Gaiha and Omega Sentinel. One of my favorite parts about Miss Marvel The New Mutant issue 3 is the interesting color palette from Eric Arcienega. Arcienega constantly switches between two different artists, be it Carlos Gomez and Adam Gorham, over in this comic book. Some of the color palette is switched depending on which artist is suited best for the scene. Miss Marvel The New Mutant has really been firmly focused on establishing the relationship seemingly romantically over between Bruno and Kamala. I really thought this issue in particular did a great job at advancing this storyline with Bruno looking after Kamala so carefully as she's caught up over in her dreams. I also thought this issue had a great cliffhanger that played up the tension across the page much more strongly here. It feels like there's some strong stakes over in the background of Miss Marvel the New Mutant that our supporting cast may not be familiar with. I think one of the elements that's also really helping this series from feeling a little bit more derivative is the fact that characters like Omega Sentinel have so much history over in the Marvel Universe, and it feels really natural to have them show up acting as a villain in this capacity over for Miss Marvel the New Mutant. Elsewhere, again, I thought the cliffhanger touched on a really important aspect of Fall of X, and I do think that it's an interesting way for Miss Marvel the New Mutant to end by Orchis finally getting privy to her location. It feels like Kamala is so close to Orchis that at some point she's going to get spotted. So at the end of the day here, I think Miss Marvel the New Mutant issue 3 is a spectacular comic book that opens up so many fascinating story ideas over for Kamala Khan. The way that Orchis continues to close in on Miss Marvel is really, really thrilling here. I also love the idea that Miss Marvel is getting so much experience as a mutant. It really feels like this series is going to be formative over to some of her character development. Also, I found that both Iman Vellani and Sabra Perzada still do a great job writing some of the dialogue. I found the strong exchanges between Bruno trying to look after Kamala to be very, very harrowing over for his characterization here. Also, I think the inclusion of some of the greater X-Men elements are continuing to play up some of the most fascinating aspects of Miss Marvel the New Mutant. It feels like the stakes wouldn't be as high in a Miss Marvel story if Kamala wasn't operating alongside some of these X-Men characters. I also thought that some of the intrigue over between Omega Sentinel and Dr. Gaiha was great in this issue. I think it kind of changes their dynamic just a little bit and has me much more intrigued in these two individual characters than I was elsewhere. So many of these X-Men comics are doing a great job building up these individual X-Men players. We've saw some of this over in the Astonishing Iceman comic book, as well as the characters of Krull and Valance over from Dark X-Men. I want to know from you, are you enjoying Miss Marvel the New Mutant? Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about Miss Marvel and her relationship to some of these Orchis threats? I want to know from you. Thanks so much for coming to check out our video review for Miss Marvel the New Mutant issue 3, and we'll be back to see where this series is headed next. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.